What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and there is currently a civil war going on within Warhammer 40K Space Marines 2's forums. That's dividing the fan base as people continue to reject the franchise and are now going as far as to cancel pre-orders of the game due to the involvement of a certain writer. As well, there's new reports of Warhammer's live-action IP parent company Amazon pushing ridiculous agenda nonsense onto their employees that you have to hear to believe cause it's ridiculous. To begin, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 is coming this September, and from a first glance, the game does look very fun to play. Although very bloody, which I hope can be turned off because YouTube hates blood, hence why some of the footage you'll see in this video is grayed out at times. Anyway, in case you didn't know, the senior lead writer for Space Marine 2 is a trans writer named Ashley Cooper. Do not harass this person, by the way. However, their involvement with the game has led to a lot of animosity and turmoil when it comes to Space Marine 2, and that's putting it lightly. There's plenty of things that have been unearthed that Cooper has said in the past, like saying anyone who plays Hogwarts Legacy is anti-trans, for example. As well as other things like, let's not cast cis white men in stuff for a year and see what happens just for fun. They've also said things like, sorry cishet white dudes, comics don't belong to you, comics never belong to you. By the way, in case you don't know what all these little lingo terms mean, cishet refers to heterosexual males, as in biological men. Yes, even as a normal guy, you have slurs that define you, I guess, so there you go, you just learned something new today. Go call one of your male friends cishet unironically and see their reaction. I guarantee you they'll look at you like you're from another planet. Cooper has also doubled down on the comic book agenda beyond saying comics never belong to straight white males, responding to an IGN article where fans were upset that Superman's son was suddenly bisexual. Cooper then said, "We will claim another superhero every month until our demands are met." What demands are they referring to exactly? They never actually state it. I think if they mean demands, they're probably just saying they want everything to be turned gay or trans in order to fit their worldview, and they'll keep being emboldened in doing so until everything reflects them in every way. We've seen this happen in all facets of entertainment, from movies, games, and beyond, so it's no surprise the influx of activist workers being hired at these companies is anything but new these days. And this discourse surrounding this writer has been going on for a while now, since I can even find things like this from Reddit said over 2 years ago at this point that reads, "I've seen an article and few posts where gatherings of alt-right duds and chuds have been shitting on Ashley Cooper, one of the writers for Space Marine 2. She's a fantastic trans writer who supports defunding the police and making sure everyone knows that Warhammer is an inclusive hobby. Just thought I would say F the white cis male assholes that make up conspiracy theories to justify their shitty ideals. LGBTQ+ POC writers aren't part of some conspiracy to take over media, they just exist and are better than you." I don't know what I should laugh at more, if it's the crazy cult-like behavior of this user, or the fact they follow a subreddit called Sigma Marxism. It's always hilarious to me how woke ideology always correlates so closely with communists especially. It's also ridiculous that a writer hired for Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, a game where you play the elite guard of humanity in order to protect them by killing aliens, and basically, let's be real, committing mini genocides all over the galaxy, is also pro-defunding the police. Which, if Warhammer was real, this Ashley Cooper would think the Space Marines are no better than the cops of our world. And I would definitely expect these sorts of activists to hold signs saying pro-Terminids or all alien lives matter or defund the Space Marines. These are the kinds of people who will get stabbed in the street by a random thug and refuse to tell the police or ambulance the identity of the oppressor because they don't want to perpetuate stereotypes. Cooper and people that believe in their pro-communist rhetoric could get mugged in broad daylight and have their savings siphoned, and will just say, well, that person probably just needed my money more than I did. The entire concept of what's going on here is self-defeatism and promotes the ideology of raising people in victimhood mindsets. There is nothing good that can come from raising someone a communist. All you're doing is enabling and validating someone into doubling down when it comes to their laziness and complacencies. If you want to ensure your kids or friends grow up to accomplish absolutely nothing in their lives, have no money, job, or any aspirations, and likely just live on government-subsidized paychecks that are paid by hardworking taxpayers like yourself, then that's what will become of these people. Communism breeds cancer, and this is why the concept of communism pretty much never really works in actual society. Why do you think people under communist rule suffer immeasurably so often? It's simple, because communism is the stagnation of the human spirit. When your doctors and nurses make the same as the guy who pushes carts at the grocery store, you are ensuring the medical treatment and quality of life your society is accustomed to is equivalent to garbage at best. Human innovation does not thrive under such an ideology, and the only way to better the world at large is to ensure there is incentive and drive to push the bright-minded among us to achieve great feats, which under something like communism, this drive is driven only towards the grave and the ineptitude that is lazy Marxists. Sorry if I just went off on a tirade here for a bit, but I really do hate commies. I can't imagine waking up every single day believing that all of my problems should be solved by the government. What a pathetic and self-defeating way to live your life. Forget about it. But it is hilarious that the Space Marine 2 writer here is pro-communism and defunding the police. Very giga-brain of Games Workshop. You know, to hire someone that hates cops to write your game about space cops. Very cool. A great idea. One look at the forums of Space Marine 2, and every other thread is about this writer, with some of them even being called Good Riddance Chuds, which reads, "I'm so happy to hear all the chud cells whining about Warhammer and talking about removing this game from their wish lists. It's good to hear the cancer is cutting itself out. The Emperor would be ashamed of you all. Happy Pride, everyone." As you're already seeing, people are celebrating that others are being removed or feeling underrepresented in hobbies that they enjoyed. Because remember fellas, it's okay to unrepresent groups as long as they don't agree with yours 100% like this person here. It's sad, really. And it's what I say all the time, that for these kinds of individuals who say they champion diversity, inclusivity, and the like, they are often the antithesis of the very ideals and concepts they claim to champion themselves. You can't be kumbaya for everyone and be happy that things exclude people because you don't agree with them. You are the very problem you claim to hate, and it's both funny and sad that they fail to realize this pretty much 100% of the time. There is nothing more pathetic and hilarious than someone who can't see the irony in their own agenda, and we're seeing this all too often these days. Especially since many of these woke individuals are latching themselves onto Warhammer especially. Considering the hobby in terms of lore and so on is likely one of the most anti-everything they believe in when they actually look into it. But it doesn't matter because the activists like these and more, it's all about hijacking the vehicle that is the franchise and changing it to be what they like. Nothing would make these people more happy than if the Emperor of Mankind was trans. I remember about 2 months ago there was a writer trying to push the idea that the Emperor was indeed trans because the Emperor is a psyker made up of the collective consciousness of multiple other shamans. And therefore, because many lives, knowledge, and so on exist within the Emperor, this means they are by definition trans or non-binary or whatever else. When in reality, the Emperor was born as a normal boy. Sorry, cis-het as the cool kids say, and the Emperor has since even ever been known and seen as a man to this day. This angers these people, and they would love nothing more than to change it. I guarantee you when Space Marine 2 comes out, there will be shenanigans in its story or lore, somehow. Somewhere, this Cooper individual will sprinkle their ideology into the codex hoping nobody notices until the game is released. And ultimately, all this activism will just result in Space Marine 2 losing sales and unmaking years of work that these developers have done in an instant. Because in the mind of the activist, if the many must suffer to fulfill the will of the few, then it is deemed a worthy trade. As I've said previously, Space Marine 2 has all the makings to be a Helldivers 2-like hit if done correctly. But unfortunately, I don't know Games Workshop, neither its creative team will allow it to soar to such heights if it means abandoning the agenda at the core of this culture war. Sure, they'll lose millions in sales, but at least Ashley Cooper got what they wanted in the end, and that, my friends, is the sad reality of this all. Nothing is sacred anymore, everything can be altered, and if you speak out against it, you are the enemy. Which I guess means I am the villain in this story, but that's okay with me. At least I know in my heart and mind that I am far more sane than the many people in this world who prance around spewing insane things like crazy people. And speaking of crazy people, Amazon, which is contracted with Games Workshop to make the Warhammer show, has had some things exposed about the inner workings of their operations, and it's weird, to say the least. This comes from the website freespeechunion.com and it's titled Amazon EDI Training Compelling Staff to Use Preferred Pronouns at Work and in Your Personal Life. So this website is a group that protects others when it comes to free speech and deals with many cases involving such freedoms being preyed upon by corporations. Free Speech Union, or FSU for short, was founded in 2020 and since then has handled around 2,500 free speech cases. They state that 46% of these cases were associated with workplace abuse, and that 1/5 of cases are directly the cause of concepts like EDI, or equity, diversity, and inclusion being the reason. Basically, the people who get help from FSU are usually people who are being forced by their companies to champion and take courses in order to change their dialogue and behaviors around things like pronouns and more. It's a re-education camp-like mentality that's being spread across Amazon in every regard to push wokeness, basically. FSU ran polls with British users and found, based on the people they've helped or surveyed, that around 62% of workers specifically had to conceal their actual thoughts when they had to go to work. And around 22% of those surveyed were forced into saying or believing things they did not actually believe themselves. An example given was in 2021, the FSU dealt with the Somerville College in Oxford, which was trying to push unconscious bias training on everyone who either worked or attended at the college. The people at Somerville College here, for example, were unable to resume their duties unless they scored a 100% on the test, which was designed to rewrite their beliefs and understanding of gender and pronouns in society. Once the FSU looked into this and got involved, the college dropped this course completely, which I mean good because it's insane and really stupid. But this is what these people deal with, and now they have insider information in regards to Amazon. This information, according to FSU, was given to them by Amazon employees who were also tasked with going through similar behavioral courses meant to change their perception of things like gender and so on. This group within Amazon that advocates and pushes these ideas is called, and yes, this is real, Glamazon. The managers who work for the LGBTQ+ affiliated group within Amazon are even referred to as, and yes, this is also real, as Glamazonians. I wish I was kidding, guys, but this is real. Anyway, this particular course so far seems to be mostly concentrated in the UK version of Amazon. Although as of now, we don't know if a similar program exists within the American version of Amazon or not. But remember that Games Workshop is a UK-based company, so having stuff like this so close to Warhammer and such is, well, not a good sign. According to the employees who ousted this program, they were being forced by the Glamazonians, which I will never not laugh because what a name, my god, into accepting and repeating LGBTQ+ topics and beliefs. The employees who spoke anonymously said that they were silenced and scared to admit their own beliefs in the presence of Amazon's Glamazon staff. The UK training manual also says, based on what the Glamazon team wrote, the hashtag Push for Pronouns initiative is aimed at normalizing the sharing of pronouns to ensure all people have the opportunity to define and be referred to by the pronouns they personally identify with. While it's not an exhaustive list, here are some examples of pronouns people may identify with. They, them, theirs, she, her, hers, z, zim, zers, he, him, his, am, airs. I looked up what the fresh hell any of those other pronouns mean. Apparently, z, zem, airs are gender-neutral pronouns, so like non-binary, I guess. The am, airs ones make even less sense. It's categorized as, according to Google, that which belongs to M, possessive case of gender-neutral a or e, equivalent to the singular theirs and coordinate with his and hers. So it's like a combination of their and him or her? What? I don't get it, guys. I feel like I'm an old man yelling at the sky at this point. Let's just move on. This shit is crazy, dude. Apparently, this Glamazonian initiative is encouraging employees to enter their pronouns and all of that into which is being called the phone tool, as well as their email signatures when they send company emails. Some other things the Amazonians insist on including are, start introducing yourself with your pronouns. Whenever you're introduced to somebody new, it's easy to state your pronouns alongside your name. This helps others understand how to refer to you in the future and encourages them to also share their pronouns. Pretty crazy, huh? They also say in their Glamazon course that misgendering other people can be traumatizing or alienating, but I mean, really, guys? What do you expect when we gotta remember things like Z-Zer and M-Ears? I just explained what those were in the video and I honestly already forgot what I said. According to the Free Speech Union, what Amazon or Glamazon is pushing here is technically illegal according to the FSU. Here's what they said, and I quote, If this is a reference to harassment as defined in the Equality Act in 2010, then it's misleading. Gender-critical beliefs are not mentioned in the Glamazon course material, begging the question of whether Amazon is aware that in the UK those beliefs are protected by the Equality Act. Although the law remains unclear on misgendering, it is likely that an employee with gender-critical beliefs could not be lawfully penalized for refusing to use the preferred pronouns of a trans colleague, particularly if the employee did not intend to demean or offend their colleague. Amazon's demand that its employees should introduce themselves using their own preferred pronouns outside the workplace is an example of overreach. Under the Protect section of the Glamazon training, we find the following. Ensure gender-neutral language is used in documents and meetings, making sure employees are aware that we have zero tolerance of homo, bi, transphobia, and educating employees on the LGBTQIA+ community." End quote. So if you ever wondered what sort of shenanigans are being placed upon your favorite IPs like Warhammer within companies that hold rights to these sorts of franchises, now you know. Amazon is pushing technically an illegal misgendering behavioral program onto their own employees and forcing them to adhere to these policies or be fired for hate speech. Now imagine trying to make a show about Space Marines while jumping through all of these hoops simultaneously. If Henry Cavill's Warhammer show is indeed shelved for now, I'm not surprised considering what he's up against here, because this is frankly insane. None of this is okay, and I think the hiring of that Cooper writer to oversee and make your Space Marine 2 story is gonna go either way. Do I want Space Marine 2 to suck? Absolutely not. I would love for a solid new Warhammer experience for fans to enjoy, but I'm going to be realistic with you and say that what's being presented here does not make a compelling case for the alternative either. This could go any which way. Maybe it's the best thing ever, or it could be tits up before it even releases. We don't really know yet. But based on the people in charge of cultivating the workers at places like Amazon, the likelihood is very unlikely. And sadly, what I've been explaining this entire time has now been echoed by another game developer and studio, and god damn it, man. This time it's the new Dragon Age game, which was originally called Dreadwolf. It is now titled The Veilguard, which I think is a more boring name personally. Just drop the and name it Dragon Age Veilguard. Anyway, that Park Place just posted this, and it's titled Dragon Age The Veilguard game director who describes themselves as a queerosexual gendermancer claims game is inherently queer. Already, Dragon Age Veilguard is off to a bad start here, because the last thing BioWare needs right now is another controversy or issue standing between them and success. BioWare has been languishing in the pits of apathy ever since the release of Anthem. Mass Effect Andromeda didn't work either, although that was another team named BioWare Montreal. Also, I won't be using footage of Dragon Age during this because for some reason, a lot of trailers for Dragon Age are copyrighted by Electronic Arts. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Anyways, none of this is a good look, and Grums posted a picture of the game's director, whose name is Corinne Bush, and they had some things to say via the BioWare blog, and I quote, "As a queer trans woman, I have a perspective on the games that not everyone has. Dragon Age has long been a place where LGBTQIA+ folks can see people like themselves. Represented respectfully, it's inherently very queer, and it's such a rare thing for marginalized communities to have representation where we feel proud and powerful in how we are depicted. It's so deeply meaningful for so many. I often get emotional when I think about what it would have meant for a younger version of myself to see someone like her in a game, and as a hero no less. I hope we can be a safe place for our queer players to know they are not alone, that they are brilliant and worthy, and that they are not only welcome but celebrated. But for me, it's really about being a steward for the vision that we as a team have collectively defined. I get a high-level view of everything as it's coming together and can steer the project as it does, but ultimately it's about empowering people to work together, play with ideas, offer critiques, and make decisions, all to help create a cohesive experience for the player. In Dragon Age, you can be who you want to be, explore the possibilities and consequences of your choices, and build relationships that leave a lasting impression. Few games give players that kind of autonomy while also weaving such a rich narrative. I think it really speaks to why our players feel so invested in this world." End quote. Look, I want Dragon Age Veilguard to be a great game. I love the Dragon Age series. I 100%ed Origins back on Xbox, and I platinumed Inquisition. And it would break my heart to see Dragon Age get ruined by identity politics or fail in general, because it would mean the IP would likely be dead for a very long time. I've actually spoken to BioWare developers and former ones before, and I even asked what they think having a trans director would mean for Veilguard. They told me, based on what they know, that the BioWare team that is there right now working is just trying to deliver a great game. They're not 100% sure of any identity politically driven narrative or anything at BioWare right now. They know the game will explore various sexual identities the characters can pursue with companions, similar to what Baldur's Gate 3 did as well. But they're confident, based on what they know anyways, that BioWare will not be pushing politics or anything in this game. It will be like Baldur's Gate 3, where the agenda and such is only there if you make the decisions in order to see that stuff. But if you plan to play the game as a straight person, a lot of this stuff is never actually shown to you. So basically, player agency can either make this game super woke like BG3 or not, based on your own decisions. If BioWare relegates these things to player choice, then it should be fine. I mean, BioWare has had companions in other games where these concepts have been explored. Asari and Mass Effect are genderless. We even had a gay mage in Inquisition who was awesome actually, and he was named Dorian. And of course, there's people like Iron Bull, who also had a trans company leader by his side too, and this was back in 2014, mind you. Do I think Veilguard will be great? I hope so, but I'm also scared if BioWare goes down the woke route, they could kill their studio completely. They need this win, and they can't afford to mess this up, but I guess time will tell when this gets fully announced and released. We're facing the virus on all fronts, friends, and I want you all to stay informed as best as possible. If you take anything from this video, please do not allow your employers to shame or manipulate you into doing something you don't want to do. Even though they don't think so, you actually do have rights, and you should exercise those God-given tenets to protect yourself from evil. Stand strong and repel this garbage, then nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to make sure, after all. But what do you think about all of this? Let me know as always in the comments. Thanks to my patrons for their support, and have a great day everyone. Don't let evil push you around, and I'll see you in the next one.